Hello, so there's an opinion piece that was just released in the New York Times, and me and my good friend Tara, New Mexico milkmaid, we have a few things to say about it.
It's ignoring a major polluter. Oh,
Spoiler, she said agriculture. I thought maybe she would say fossil fuels, electricity, or transportation, considering they make most of the graph, but no, she went with agriculture.
it's churning out at least 1/3 of all greenhouse gas emissions around the world.
Oh, that sneaky little narrator. She actually chose to use global emissions. Had they chosen to highlight the US alone, which is what the rest of the film is on, it would have only been 10%. Not as convincing, is it?
Environmental regulation, very little.
Actually, we're regulated by multiple agencies, including EPA and our state environment department.
You cannot solve the climate problem.
What Senator Booker forgets to mention is that agriculture is actually a carbon sink. Oh yeah, and that's actually a processing plant, not a farm.
Major source of methane.
Agriculture isn't even the #1 producer of methane, and our methane is part of the natural biogenic carbon cycle.
Stay tuned for part 2 and 3, where we give more facts, not opinions.
Have you seen this opinion piece in the New York Times? Well, this is part 2, where Natalie Kovarik and I debunk all the misinformation.
You probably don't live near a farm, and maybe you've never been on one.
If you've never been on a farm or never been near one, maybe it would be a good idea to actually go to a farm.
Some places, it's still expanding.
We're actually losing 175 acres per hour of farmland to urban sprawl.
But never at such an industrial scale.
I wonder if that's to do anything with the growing population.
The largest sources of air pollution.
Okay, how many times am I gonna have to show you this graph?
Why aren't we angry about the agriculture industry in this country? Why?
That's a great question. My guess is because agriculture is 2% of the population that feeds 98% of the population.
When we think of climate change, do we think of big oil, not big?
A great question I'd love to answer. Probably because according to the graph you guys have never seen, there are far more industries that have an environmental impact than agriculture. Also because we're part of the solution. We can actually reverse climate change through carbon sequestration and restoring degraded soil.
Someone say steak.
Oh, I hope so. I'm hungry.
This is part 3 of a cattle rancher and a dairy farmer breaking down this opinion piece in the New York Times.
It's time you met the big ag lobby.
Ag lobbying doesn't even make the list of the top 8 biggest lobbyists.
The mom and pop farm.
Pure profit. Actually, 98% of farm and ranches in the US are family owned and operated. And listen, we get it. This is an opinion piece. The problem we have and why we made this video is because for anyone who's removed from agriculture or unfamiliar with our industry, this is not presented as an opinion piece. This is presented as factual. As a nation, we have a really big challenge ahead of us, and that is to manage the critical point between increasing food production for a growing population while managing climate change. And pieces like this, ones that are rooted in fear and pit the consumer against the producer, are doing nothing to help the situation. We have to work together if we're going to feed the growing population and take